It takes a lot of creativity, skill, and persistence to get great at what it is that you do. And that's exactly what Kendrick Lamar's chart is here to show us. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Blue, and I'm a business astrologer here to help you use astrology so that you can start, grow, and scale your online business. And today's video is all about Kendrick Lamar. We are going to be deep diving into his birth chart to investigate exactly what makes him great at what he does. As a business astrologer, one of my favorite placements to look to in the birth chart to determine success in career is the midheaven. And it's because it really speaks to your vocation, the work that is going to be most fulfilling for you, and most importantly, how it plays out throughout your career. And sometimes it really helps to have examples of how this can play out in real time. So I love using celebrities as examples for how your midheaven can help you to grow and scale your business. Today's video is going to be all about Kendrick Lamar, who is unsurprisingly getting a lot of attention in the spotlight, mainly because at the time of this recording, it was just announced that he's going to be performing the halftime for the 2025 Super Bowl. So it is a very big deal. He is quite literally going to be in the spotlight for his work as a rapper. So we're going to be breaking down exactly what's going on in his birth chart, as well as what his midheaven is and how that is going to assist him in building on success around and beyond Super Bowl 2025. So if you want to learn more, make sure you stay tuned. All right, so let's start off by first dissecting Kendrick's chart. As you can see here, we do have a confirmed birth time for Kendrick's chart, which makes it really easy for us to begin to break this down from an astrological lens. So Kendrick is a Libra Rising, and his chart ruler, meaning the planet that rules over his chart, is going to be Venus, since Venus rules over Libra and Taurus. So his chart ruler is actually over here in the 9th house, and it's going to be his 9th house Gemini Venus. And we definitely see this in the ways that people are attracted to his particular flow. Venus is the planet of not just creativity and love, but also attraction. It's the way that people are attracted to you, as well as what you find attractive. We definitely see this in the ways that he not only showcases his talent in the public sphere, but also the particular way that he flows. He is literally known for his words. Gemini is ruled by what? Mercury. Then we have Mercury over here in the 10th house, which is in the same house as his midheaven. Spoiler alert, we're going to get to that in a bit. But let's look at two of the other placements that make up his big three. So his sun is still in the 9th house here. It's not quite conjunct his Venus, but it is in the same house along with his Chiron. So that makes his sun a 9th house Gemini sun, and his moon, which is actually in one of the wealth houses, it's over here in the 6th house, and he has a Pisces moon. And so having this big three is really interesting and speaks volumes in why Kendrick has the presence that he does, especially in the public sphere and in the rap game specifically. In terms of modality, his first house is ruled by a cardinal sign, Libra, meaning that there is this innate quality and ability to lead from the front, to be a trendsetter, a self-starter, to be someone that is not waiting for permission from other people, but rather is willing to initiate and to begin a new process, or to just create something out of thin air that people may have not experienced or seen before, or to bring a fresh perspective in. Now, the first house rules over the self, the body, especially in traditional astrology. And so this really speaks volumes to the ways that he literally presents himself amongst other rappers, even that have been in the rap game longer than him. That Libra rising is really here to initiate, to assist him in bringing a new perspective to the particular way that he raps versus how other rappers come into the game. Now, when it comes to his sun and moon, however, these are both ruled by mutable signs, and mutable signs have this really great flexibility in being able to not just articulate and communicate different ideas, but to get inspiration from a variety of places. And we definitely see this, especially with his 9th house influence, in not just being able to portray a really proud sense of where he is from, that third house influence, being born and raised from Compton, but we also see it in the way that it's perceived with that ninth house resonating with a global audience. One thing that I think is really fascinating as a business astrologer as well is that his moon is quite literally in one of the wealth houses, the sixth house. Now, the sixth house is like the background things that are required in order to build success for your business. And so having your moon here in the sixth house, whether you have a Pisces moon yourself or your moon is in the sixth house, this can definitely resonate with the things that the moon represents being very closely tied to the ways that you are meant to structure and bring support to your business. The sixth house is quite literally the house of occupation. So this is the very thing that you do for money, the thing that you do on a consistent basis in order to generate revenue. Now, what's important to note is that your occupation is very different from your vocation, right? Your vocation is more your midheaven, whereas your occupation is ruled by the sixth house. However, I noticed that Kendrick has a particular aspect that is connecting his sixth house to his 10th house placements. And that is specifically a trine here. Trines are really supportive aspects. They bring a sense of harmony to the two placements that they connect. With his moon trining his midheaven, there is a sense of understanding between the two placements. His moon and his midheaven, they're both here to support Kendrick in a very particular way. When there is a supportive aspect like a trine that is happening between your sixth house placements and your midheaven specifically, I do notice that there is a strong correlation to the work that you find the most fulfilling is more than likely going to be what it is that generates the most revenue for you. In Kendrick's case, it's very much being a public figure. It's being a rapper. It's literally storytelling and sharing his perspective with other people in world building in a way that is going to be really immersive and connective for other people. The moon in the sixth house also brings a strong sense of intuition and emotion into the work structure that you have. So whenever folks have a sixth house that is ruled by a mutable sign, it's definitely a signal that a very structured day-to-day routine or process is most likely not going to work for them. But instead, there needs to be space for the creativity to flow and a structure that supports the creativity first and foremost. So using Kendrick as an example, perhaps he is not, sitting down and trying to come up with rhymes or trying to create raps or songs every single day, but perhaps he is allowing himself to be influenced by many different things. Especially with his chart ruler being Venus, there is this sense of being able to see and appreciate the beauty that is all around you and to bring your creativity not just in the structure of what it is you are meant to do every single day, but really allowing yourself to be inspired by the entire process. Having Venus be your chart ruler or even your midheaven ruler definitely signifies this strong sense of being inspired by many different things and allowing yourself to get lost in the entire process. Your creativity may not be the best thing when it comes to figuring out the daily structure, but instead really considering what your business needs to look like in order to support the creativity that is quite natural for you and is an inherent strength that you have, something that helps to set you apart from other people. Within business astrology, the moon in Kendrick's chart is going to be very important, especially because it is the planet that actually rules his midheaven sign. So with that, let's get into the specifics on Kendrick's midheaven. So Kendrick has a 10th house midheaven, the most common midheaven placement to have. And when you are using whole sign houses, the midheaven actually shifts out of the 10th house, and it can be anywhere from the 7th house all the way to the 12th house, depending on the specific time that you were born. So having your midheaven here in the 10th house, it really brings a connection to the fact that your vocation, the work that is going to be most fulfilling to you, is going to be highly specific to things like public reputation, glory, the building and understanding of what your vocation is, as well as just aligning yourself to positions where you can build your career over time. The 10th house is a very public-facing house, but it's also a house that requires you to put in the work before you reap the benefits of it. Having the 10th house ruled by Cancer in Kendrick's chart definitely signifies this Cancerian themes to be strongly connected with how he builds his public reputation, speaking about things like family, private life, emotions, things of that nature are going to be definitely prominent themes for folks that have Cancer ruling a very public-facing house on any of the angles, but especially when it is ruling their midheaven sign. Something that I also want to take note of is the fact that Kendrick does have a pretty active 10th house. Now, for some people, you don't have any planets here. So it is much easier to connect to the energy of your midheaven placement because you don't have to filter it through the lens of other planets that are in that house. However, because Kendrick has not just 2 planets here, but he has an additional placement as well, there's a lot of activity that's going on in the 10th house. So it can be a bit of a challenge to really understand like who to take direction to, who's leading the pack when it comes to understanding the energy of this 10th house. But let's break this down. We have his Mercury here, which again, this makes the most sense. Kendrick is very much known for the ways that he is able to communicate his words, literally weave stories, communicate to the public, create and build connection in the ways that he is able to build stories. Cancer is also a cardinal sign. So the specific ways that he's able to weave together rhymes and stories and showcase a particular vulnerability of the things that he has seen, perhaps experienced, and how that impacts how he sees the world. These are all things that build on quite literally what he is known for as a public figure and as an entertainer. He also has his lot of fortune here. In traditional astrology, the lot of fortune was looked to almost like a second ascendant sign. So wherever it exists within your chart, this is definitely where you want to take note of because this can bring a sense of ease to the themes of that particular house. In Kendrick's case, this is going to be resonant with the 10th house and 10th house themes. So perhaps he's always been really gifted in being able to communicate, to weave together stories, to build a reputation around these things and communicating with other people. Now, one of the spicier placements that he has here in the 10th house is going to be his Mars. And having a Cancer Mars is not for the faint of heart because Mars is the planet that is all about doing and a planet that appreciates and values initiation and taking action, not in procrastination. The way that I like to explain it to clients is that Mars is the perfect planet to work with if you're kind of struggling with procrastination, if you're being held back from taking action on a thing because you're not sure how to begin or how to start it. Mars is a perfect planet to work with because it is going to support you in just getting the thing done. Mars values the ugly first draft. It wants you to go out there and build the experience of doing the thing first before you go back and make any edits or adjustments. So having Mars here, especially conjunct the lot of fortune, his Mercury, and being in the same house as his midheaven definitely signifies that like the taking action, right? And not getting so swept up and locked into the story building, the weaving, or even like the image of what he would like his career to be with that Venus, with that chart ruler here in the 9th house, not getting so locked into that vision that it prevents him from taking action is part of what supports him in building that legacy and building that public reputation that he can improve on over time by just simply doing the thing. Now, a conflict that is naturally happening here is that because Mars is a very direct planet and it values those things, it really struggles when it's in signs that operate better when they're able to be fluid, flexible, and indirect in their action. That's why it's such a struggle for them, or it can be, in utilizing this Martian energy, because the nature of the Cancer archetype is to be very indirect, is to sway away from direct action and to take the longer way around, to wait for the inspiration to take action before action can be done. There can also be the strong sense of protection around the things that are important to them when you have this placement, particularly when it's in the 10th house as well. It's almost like the themes of Cancer and the things that Cancer archetype values: family, private life, the home, the spaces where you are able to be comfortable and truly yourself. You become really protective of these things, and you can definitely see this weaving into what Kendrick is very much known for. Kendrick's midheaven is also double lunar ruled because it falls into the third decan of Cancer, which is actually ruled by the moon, and Cancer is already ruled by the moon. So this just further exacerbates the fact that the moon is so important in Kendrick's chart. And in fact, the moon and Venus, both emotional and feminine planets, are going to be the ones that are driving the most charge in his chart, where he's going to feel and resonate with the most. And so a big challenge for Kendrick is being able to unify these things, to be able to bring creativity and home and family, and to center that within his art, within his work, without losing himself to this idea of what masculinity needs to look like, not falling into the expectations of what other people expect from him, but allowing himself to be his authentic self by bringing in that eye for curation, that appreciation for what is beautiful, or specifically what he sees as beautiful, and creating a spotlight for these things to take charge within his work. The more that he's able to do this, the more that he's able to really tap into the trine aspect that's connecting his 10th house to his 6th house, and really making the work that he does, his literal occupation, be the thing that builds his public reputation and supports the legacy that he is quite actively making. Now that we've talked about Kendrick's chart alone, let's really bring in a specific transit that really inspired me to make this video and to really look into his chart. Is the fact that Kendrick was announced to be the halftime performer for the 2025 Super Bowl, which is happening on Sunday, February 9th, 2025. I don't have an exact time at the time of this recording for his halftime performance, so I'm just using the time and the chart of when the Super Bowl is supposed to happen. And so Kendrick's chart is still present here in the inner circle, but on the outer circle, we have the transits where the planets are going to be at the 2025 Super Bowl and how they connect with his natal placements. The first thing that really drew my attention is the fact that the moon and Mars will be transiting over his 10th house. Again, public reputation, of legacy, of vocation, and being able to create action. Quite literally, Mars almost exactly conjunct his natal Mars placement. So he's really getting the support from the transits to step into doing what he loves, to literally perform, to showcase his work in a very public sphere. Whenever you have a planet like Mars transiting over the house of your midheaven, that is a fantastic time to be in a public spotlight and to really be creating space to hone your craft, to be known for the thing that brings you the most satisfaction and the most joy, which is quite literally what the midheaven is here to support you with. The moon transiting the house of the midheaven is also an important time as well, because this also signifies that there can be a spotlight on the thing that you value the most. One of the benefits of working with your moon placement is the fact that it does support what it is that you want to be known for. If we think about the moon and the sun, which are the two planets that bring light to the solar system, they're held in special regard from the other planets because of that ability. And while the sun is most comfortable in daytime light, the sun is always out during the day. It's very consistent. The moon is the opposite of that. It's most comfortable at night. It is nighttime light, and it's not as comfortable being in the spotlight, but it does enjoy intimacy around showcasing what is hidden underneath the public sphere. So when you have the moon transiting a very public house like the midheaven, it can showcase in a variety of ways. It can be a time where it's like, yeah, there is a bit of discomfort around the vulnerability of being in a spotlight, perhaps some discomfort in things that you want to keep for yourself being now thrust into the public sphere. However, it can also manifest as a platform for you to showcase the things that truly matter to you, because the moon does correlate with your private self. A way for you to spotlight who it is that you are authentically outside of the public sphere, which can be something that's really healing and cathartic for a public figure like Kendrick. It can be a really good platform for him to showcase perhaps a more vulnerable side to him, showcasing new music, or even quite literally music that just holds a lot of meaning to him, and allowing the public to appreciate it in the same way that he does. The midheaven will also be transiting over his 8th house ruled by Taurus. 8th house is other people's money and resources. It's opposite from the 2nd house, which is quite literally your money and resources. And so again, another signifier in the chart by the transit. So this is, a potentially really supportive event for Kendrick's career and building of the legacy that he is actively shaping. The last planet that I do want to highlight is the fact that Saturn will be almost exactly conjunct his natal moon in the 6th house. So Saturn is this planet of mastery. It is the planet that is actually the most challenging for Kendrick because he was born during the day. Saturn is naturally going to be the harder, more challenging planet to work with in terms of the malefic planets, Saturn and Mars. So while Mars is a little bit easier for someone with a day chart to work with in their astrology, Saturn is going to be more challenging, but because it's going to be transiting over his 6th house, it's another signifier by the transits that the Super Bowl and his Super Bowl performance could be a really elevating step within his career. It can help him to solidify all the work that he is putting in thus far in committing to his craft and getting better at becoming a public figure, a performer, an entertainer, a rapper, really utilizing this event to spotlight what it is that really matters to him. Just because you're in the public spotlight doesn't mean that you then lose your sense of self. It can be a really challenging part of understanding your particular celebrity, right? And something that a lot of public figures really struggle. However, when it's done right and when you're able to leverage an event like this that correlates so well with your natal astrology, it can actually be a really elevating event that can help solidify your status in the public sphere, as well as within the culture, which is something that Kendrick really values. Again, that Venus, that chart ruler, that is quite literally shaping how he sees himself and how he understands his sense of self within the world. It is so important for him to utilize his gifts, his strengths to build his celebrity and not just losing himself by following what is popular. Now, if you are a Cancer midheaven like Kendrick, here are a few things you want to take note of. First and foremost, you want to be paying attention to the moon. Specifically in your chart, what sign and house is your moon placement in? This is going to tell you a lot about how you can leverage your birth chart for your vocation and career success. Another thing to note is that the moon is the fastest moving planet that we have in the solar system. It changes signs every 2 to 3 days. And so tracking the lunar cycle and just paying attention to when the moon is going to be in the same house, in the same sign as it is in your natal birth chart, that's going to be huge when it comes to the timing that you're using in your business. Timing is also going to be a major part of how you plan for your success. The constant rotation throughout the different signs, the different houses, as well as the consistent return every single month to your natal moon sign, that is fantastic in order to use for planning. So if you are building up your business, creating your signature offer, planning a major launch, pay attention to what the moon is doing because this rules over your midheaven. Timing major events in your business, especially when it comes to launches by your moon sign, is what is really going to help you to achieve success. It is also so important for you to get comfortable with getting vulnerable with your work. The moon is comfortable in the nighttime sky, and it doesn't like to be visible in the same way that the sun does. However, where the moon can thrive is really showcasing more vulnerability, more intimacy. So this can be inspiring for your own business. Maybe you're not a rapper or somebody that is in the public sphere like Kendrick is, but you can still utilize the lunar themes in the work that you're doing. How can you get specific to the ways that your work is here to help people on a soul level? How can you get clear in empowering your clients and supporting them in the true desires, the true dreams that they want to achieve? Not the things that they are comfortable saying out loud, but maybe the private desires that they have. Can you create a platform to showcase that within your business and to let your clients know that you're here to support them in all facets of who they are? When you are able to master these things, that's how you're able to leverage success using your birth chart as a Cancer midheaven. Let me know in the comments if you're a Cancer midheaven as well and how you're going to plan for your inevitable success, just like Kendrick Lamar. Thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye.